The video content marketing strategy, it starts by understanding the sales funnel. Sales funnel is a 3-phase buying journey, if you will. And it leads potential customers through the awareness stage, the consideration stage, and then the conversion stage. And then each one of these stages is actually aligned with 3 types of videos that we create in this strategy. We have 3 categories of these videos. First are what we call why videos. And then we have how videos, and then we have what videos. And each one of these categories of videos, they live in each stage of the funnel. All right. So with that being said, it all starts with the why. People are not going to buy from you until they're aligned with your why. That means they're aligned with your mission, your core values, who you are as a person. They need to connect with you on that level. And until they do that, they're not going to be ready to buy whatever it is you're selling. And so in order to take potential customers from why to your what, which is what you're selling and where you convert, you need to have the how. How videos demonstrate your expertise. And a lot of times we see these videos online, they're like how-to videos, if you're a fitness instructor, how to get 6-pack abs, what type of diet to use, or if you're selling mattresses, how to get a good night's sleep, those type of videos. And then at the end, bottom of the funnel is the conversion stage where you're actually doing the selling. This is where it's like, hey, we're having a sale for our mattresses. Click here to get 20% off. This is where we go for the sale. We go for the close. This is where the conversion happens. So each stage of the funnel has a different purpose. Every video in there has a different purpose. And what we're doing is we're sequencing audience through those different stages. And so in order to do that, we have the 3x3 grid, as you can see right here, where we take 9 videos, 3 videos in the why stage of the funnel, and then we take 3 videos in the how, and then we take 3 videos that are in the what stage of the funnel. And we basically boost them on Facebook or other social media channels. And then we test them. We test them for performance, and we see which videos get the best engagement, which videos are people watching the most and are engaging with the most, right? Whichever videos are performing the best. And through our testing, we are able to discover high performing videos, and then more importantly, high performing video sequences. And so, for example, we might have video 1 that performs really well. And everyone who engages with video 1, if we send them to video 5, that works really well. And then that same audience, if we send them over to video 8, it always closes the sale. So now we have that sequence that we know works really, really well. And so that everyone who sees this advertisement that's maybe, hey, 20% off for a chiropractic adjustment, if you were to just send cold audience to that ad, it might not perform as well. But this sequencing, it warms the traffic up so that by the time they see that ad, they're ready to buy. And that's the philosophy behind our content marketing strategy. And so as the 3x3 grid expands beyond just 9 videos, because that's what's going to happen, what you're going to have and what you're going to eventually build out is what we call a topic wheel. This is an exercise that we put all of our clients through. And the topic wheel helps you to map out topics and also your content, your videos, or whatever different content that you may have. And the topic wheel starts with you in the center. And the center is where all of the what content lives. So again, this is all of the products and the services that you're selling. Maybe it's just a brand that you're selling. So that lives in the center. And the goal is to push traffic into the center where they will, convert and make the purchase. So outside of the what is surrounded by 6 topics. And these are 6 topics that you are going to demonstrate your expertise in. So for me, I'm a digital marketer. So my topics are, as you can see right there, content marketing, SEO, social media marketing, lead generation, so on and so forth. If you're in another business, maybe you're a chiropractor, you might have other topics that you are an expert in. And so you're going to plot your 6 topics around that. And then you're going to create videos and other pieces of content that demonstrate your expertise in those related topics. So again, how-to videos and things of that nature. Then on the outside of the 6 topics, what we have are the why videos. This is all of the content about who you are as a person, your personality. Again, we mentioned this earlier, testimonials of other people singing your praise, interviews that you've done, podcasts, personal stories. And we have a whole course on building influence and building authority using this topic wheel. So this is just a high-level overview of the system, but we have additional guides and courses that go really deeper into these individual concepts. All right. And so you're going to have this topic wheel that's going to be expanding, and you're going to be able to map out what type of content you should be making and who you should be making the content with. So for example, we have brand ambassadors out here. If you're wondering why we have pictures of other people, well, if one of your topics, or in my case right here, one of my areas of expertise is SEO. Well, I have other people who are already authoritative figures in SEO. So I'm going to reach out to these people and find ways to create content with them, because it's kind of like a PR machine. When you are seen with other people who are already having authority in your area of expertise, you automatically get that halo effect, and that the authority kind of rubs off on you. And so when people are seeing you hanging out with these people, it automatically builds up your authority. And then we move them down into the next layer of content. And so we have these 3 layers in the topic wheel, and traffic is being driven inwards towards the ultimate goal, which is, what we're selling, and we want them to convert. So after a while, as we build this topic wheel out, it's going to look like a web. You're going to have so many lines and arrows and so many sequences, and we're going to be able to map out and identify high performing sequences. So, maybe this video out here works really well, and then we are able to send them to a couple pieces of content that are living in here, and ultimately they'll end up in the middle where they'll convert. So that's a topic wheel. And when you have the topic wheel and the funnel next to each other, where your audience is being taken from the outside to the center of the topic wheel, it's the same thing as them going through the funnel from the top to the bottom. They're being taken through awareness, through consideration, and then through conversion. Now, it's important to understand that there are 3 ways content is created. And most of the content that I see out there is being created in 2 out of these 3 ways. And first, it's going to be calendar driven. We hear about it all the time. You got to create a content calendar. And so people create content calendars, and then they plot out, different dates, and they create content based around dates and, seasonal periods. Or people create ad hoc, which is just kind of random creation. So it's based on news or other current events that are happening, and then they're going to create a piece of content in reaction to that. Now, the problem with those 2 types of content, not that they're bad, but they're limited because they're tied to time. And so, for example, a 4th of July sale, which is a calendar-driven content, you can't use a 4th of July post in the winter. It's not going to work. Or, if a news happened in the fall, you're not going to be able to use that content in the springtime. So they're limited in that nature. And what's missing, and what most people are not doing, is they're not creating sequence-driven content. Sequence-driven content is driven by behavior and actions. And when you have sequence-driven content, it ties everything together. And so I'm not saying you shouldn't create a content calendar, or you shouldn't create content based on news and events or dates. You definitely should continue to do that, but it shouldn't be just that. You need to have the sequence-driven content that ties everything together. That's a missing component to a lot of people's marketing strategy. Another thing that we employ here that's very important is a content library. And the content library is essentially, it's just a spreadsheet. And for every row, we have a piece of content. And we note them with a URL where that content lives. It could be a Facebook post, it could be a YouTube post, it could be a video, a blog post somewhere. So it lives somewhere. And then we have an author or an owner column. This is who is in charge of that content and is making sure that a lot of the tags and the attributes are being updated. And then when we are able to also track performance metrics on these pieces of content. So if we know that, hey, this particular piece of content performed really well if we showed it to this audience who clicked on another piece of content, well, we can keep a record of that. And this allows us to be a lot more intentional, and kind of making our decisions based on data rather than just random posting what we think people will like. This allows us to create content and sequence people based on actual data where people are telling us what they like. So that's the difference. And that's why we create and we manage this content library the way that we do. So if you don't have something like this where you're tracking all of this stuff, then you definitely should be, because, otherwise you're just kind of, sitting on a boat in the middle of the lake and kind of going wherever the wind takes you. You're not really being intentional, and you're not really setting goals and setting direction in your marketing strategy. And content and targeting is also very important to understand when we are marketing our videos and our content on social media, because a successful conversion, which, what we define as a sale, most of us are advertising because we want to make sales. We want to sell our product or our service. So a successful conversion occurs at the intersection of the right piece of content and the right audience. As marketers, that's what we're after. It's kind of like the holy grail. It's that perfect recipe. When we find the perfect piece of content that resonates well with the right audience, that's when the conversions happen. Why is this important to understand? Well, most marketers, most businesses, when they go out and start creating ads and posting on social media, the way they do it is very linear. So they'll create an ad. They'll say, hey, we're doing 20% off for chiropractic adjustments in the month of July. And then they'll target, males and females between the age of 18 and 45, or between the age of 30 and 60, who live in a specific area or a city or a neighborhood. And so that's a very linear way of marketing. It's very static. So when they're creating this ad, they don't know that it's going to resonate, and they're showing it to a cold audience. Not everybody who lives in the city needs a chiropractic adjustment or is not ready for one at the moment. So a lot of the money, a lot of the budget gets wasted at distributing and presenting these ads to audiences who are not even fit for it. So a lot of times you have these content targeting misses. You're creating content that's just not resonating with the target, just miss. Just like what the graphic is describing right here. Compared to sequence-driven content, and when you're creating content based around this framework that we have with the topic wheel and the funnel and the 3x3 grid, which allows you to test and sequence, it allows you to identify multiple pieces of content that resonate and perform well with multiple audience groups. And it also allows these audience groups to raise their hand and identify themselves and say, hey, I'm looking for a chiropractor right now, and I'm in the process where I'm trying to find one that I trust. And so the right content and the right targeting is kind of like a recipe, and that's what we're after. So when you're doing linear advertising, you might find a small group of audience that resonates with your ad and that will convert, but you're leaving a lot of money on the table. You're missing out on probably over 90% of your audience who, may never have even gotten the chance to get to know you, because all you were doing is just advertising and trying to sell. right? As people, we've gotten so numb to seeing so many advertisements that we just ignore them. We see an ad, we just keep scrolling. And that's the problem with that type of advertising. When you're not using a funnel, you're not warming up the audience first. And so you're going to have limited results. All right. And so that brings the lesson home as far as why it's important to use the funnel, why it's important to warm up your traffic and to sequence videos and to identify these evergreen sequences. And the powerful thing is, as this builds out and you are able to map out and identify these sequences, I could put more money behind that sequence, and I could try that same sequence on other channels. I could take it to Twitter, I could take it to Instagram and TikTok. I could repurpose it, maybe turn it into a blog or a video or an infographic. And when we have multiple sequences, what you're going to end up is we call it a viral spiral, is you're just going to have a number of these sequences that are working simultaneously to a point where you don't ever have to worry about sales again. You're going to have an evergreen machine that's generating leads for you. And that's how you market for your business. That's the right way to do it.